Hey guys, Step here from Card Advantage MTG, and I've just been home from the Saturday Aether Revolt pre-release. It was an awesome event. I went 4-2, and I was one removal spell away from the top 8, so I feel pretty good about my deck and my pool. I'm just going to go through it for you here. So we'll start with the box. Hey, look at that. The box, as everyone should know by this point, has this little dice box in it, which mine is full of dice because I used it. And, oh, what's this? What's this? You get a little sticker, an Aether symbol sticker. I don't remember which, like, symbol of the rebellion, or maybe it's a Thopter or something. Anyway, here we have, attention citizens. There has been a breach of security at the Inventors Fair. For your safety and protection, please comply with the following consulate guidelines. 1. Surrender all inventions to the consulate representatives immediately. 2. Submit to regular searches issued by enforcement automatons. 3. Relinquish all outstanding Aether quotas. 4. Adhere to posted curfews for each zone of residence. 5. Report any suspicious renegade activity. Do your part to keep Giripur safe. That's signed Tezzeret. So that's pretty cool. On the back side, it tells you how to build sealed deck with some pretty good instructions. It says, 17 to 18 land, 15 to 18 creatures, 5 to 8 non-creature spells, 40 cards, 2 colors, and treat vehicles as non-creature spells, which I like because a lot of people don't, with a bunch of more info there. So I'm going to quickly take you through some of the pool. Rares I opened, Insidious Will. Free Jam Regent was my promo, and I decided not to play it, even though it seems pretty good. I am going to call this guy DJ Dragon, by the way, because I think he looks like a DJ. And Aid from the Cowl, which I can't tell if this card is good or not. I haven't played it. I haven't seen anyone play it. A bunch were opened at my store, but yeah, unless you're running a real Revolt deck, I just don't think it seems very good. Anyway, since the artifacts are so important in Kaladesh, we'll start there. I have this sort of sorted by mana cost, and most of what is here I haven't played. So I opened 3 of these maps, decided not to play them. A couple of Puzzle Knots, Servo Schematic. This seems like it'd be okay in the right deck, but that wasn't my deck. Welder Automaton, Consulate Turret. This just doesn't seem good enough, I don't think. I never saw anyone play it, so I don't know for sure, but Foundry Assembler I might have played, but I had better stuff. Accomplished Automaton. The Cultivator's Caravan was another one of my rares. I should have put it at the front. I got told several times that this should have been in my deck, but I didn't like it. It was in my sealed for Kaladesh League, and it was fine there. But in this set, it's 3 mana, 3 to crew, 5. And in my deck specifically, there were a bunch of flyers, and I'd either have to tap down 2 creatures to crew this, so 4 power giving me 5 power, or I'd have to tap one of my flyers to give it, to crew it. And as a mana rock, with, Improvise, all artifacts are mana rocks now. So this just doesn't seem good anymore. Mobile Garrison I tried and I liked, but I ended up taking it out because I had better things. So My blue wasn't very deep. Had some good stuff. Like, these are all good cards, but there weren't enough good artifacts to get improvise all the time, and so, like, Gear Seeker Serpent wasn't as good. To leave in the dust seemed okay, but that's the entirety of my blue, so I didn't end up playing blue. Black, my other option, the deck you'll see is green-white, but my other option would have been black-red, because I opened like 3 of these, plus a Daring Demolition, plus Perilous Predicament. So I curved out a black-red deck, which I might write a blog article about after the whole weekend and put it up on the blog. It just didn't seem as reliable, I guess. Like, I have a lot of removal here, but not a lot of great threats. And black-red, I mean, again, there's removal. There are a few good things. Like, these all seem like good cards. This would have been fun. But, yeah, it just wasn't as good as the deck I ended up playing. You see my green here is pretty light. That's because most of my green is in the deck, and same with the white. I got a foil basic, which you always love to see in a sealed pool, because it means you have one less common. But yeah, those are my cards that I didn't end up playing. So what did I end up playing? Well, reclaim our Ghirapur. Let's curve it out. So for creatures, I ended up 2 Servants of the Conduit, which seemed good for ramp and possibly for fixing. Greenwheel Liberator, which is very strong. Usually I just played it as a 2-drop, but when I could get the Revolt, it dominated the board very quickly. And Scrounging Bandar, which is exactly as good as I'd hoped. It's, I think, a little bit better than a lot of people think. It's a little bit worse than some of the enthusiasts think, but it's just really good. You can remove the 2 +1/+1 counters and put them something else, and this will die, and then trigger Revolt. So I did that several times and kind of got people. For 3-drop creatures, I had an Aether Stream Leopard, and I only really got this in one game. I got it once and it died real quick, but the game I got it in, I hadn't had to use the energy from my Servant of the Conduits. So it was still sticking around. So I got to pump this 3 times in one game. It was good. Rishkar Pima Renegade is very good. It will also dominate the board if you're in a stable position. It's not so great when you're behind. Like, if he's the only one, he's a 3/3 for 3, which is fine. But if that's the only thing on your board, you're kind of in trouble. Thankfully, I had a creature-heavy deck, so I almost always got good value, and I think only one time I put the counter on him. Fairgrounds Warden is excellent. It's one of my few removal spells in this deck, and usually it took out something. If it didn't take out something on turn 3, just so that I could get damage in, it always took out something big. Aerial Responder is fantastic. We know this. Twice I took the counters from Scrounging Bandar and put it on this and was gaining 4 a turn. One of my games I was up to 37 life by the end of it. Scrap Trawler, foil rare. This seemed really good, particularly with one of my non-creature spells, which I'll get to when I curve those out. I didn't have a lot of artifacts to take advantage of it, but the ones that I did have were good targets, and it was just a 3/2 for 3, and it kind of drew some looks, so it did its work. Foundry Inspector, I probably should have run something else. If I had bothered to run the 5-drop with Improvise, this probably would have been better because I could have used it to get this out of my graveyard, but with the Scrap Trawler ability. But it was okay. I just kind of needed one more creature because I liked having a full board. In the 5-drop slot, I have a Wild Wanderer, and my splash card was an Outland Boar. This was really good against control decks. Usually the control decks I saw made lots of servos or had 1/3s or 1/4s or 0/4s, and this just walked right past them. I also had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sources for the red mana, so it's not like it was a hardship at all. At my 5-drop slot, I'm completely white with Airdrop Aeronauts. I got Revolt off of these 3 times, and it was good. Dawnfeather Eagle, every time I dropped it, it was an absolute blowout. I usually had the Aerial Responder when I had it. Twice I had 4 creatures, so it was real good. And then Skywhirl Harrier, I just wanted another 5-drop flyer. Things that once the board stalled out on the ground, I could really take advantage of the air. And then Barricade Breaker legitimately won me a game that I wouldn't have won. It was never bad. I usually cast it for 6 mana and tapped an artifact. I cast it for 7 a couple of times because my deck had some ramp going on with the Servants of the Conduit and with Rishkar. But it was solid enough. In sealed. In draft, if this were a draft deck and I had been able to focus a little bit more on getting good artifacts or ramping, I think this still would have been fine. But I think it's less likely to do well in draft than sealed. So, my non-creature spells. Universal Solvent. You saw 1 in the board. I thought about having 2 in the deck, but in the end I figured the curve I had and the land to cast what I needed was better. I did, however, grab this out of the graveyard twice. So I cast it 3 times in one game. Both the Foundry Inspector and the Scrap Trawler died, and I returned this after killing 2 of my opponent's biggest things. So that was great. Even just casting it on turn 1 and then using it to improvise out my Barricade Breaker on turn 5 was good. Unbridled Growth. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Don't know what happened there. So, Unbridled Growth is absolutely fantastic. If you're in green, it's Not quite as good as Prophetic Prism, but if you're in a Revolt-style deck, it's better. It'll enchant land, and it'll tap for one of any color, and then you can sack it to draw a card. So I sacked these multiple times. I think my best turn 2 was turn 1, play this. Turn 2, sack it, draw a card. Green Wheel Liberator enters with 2+1/+1 counters. Turn 3, attack with a 4/3. And that was just very, very strong. And then later, I used it to gain 5 life off of here once, plus draw a card. And yeah, it was just very good. Impeccable Timing is okay. It does what it does. In Sealed, it's good. In Draft, it's okay. It helped me not lose games that I would have lost, so that's great. Thopter Arrest is just fantastic. It's your usual O-ring style effect, and it takes care of just about anything that you care about. And very few people mainboard Enchantment Hate. So, yeah. Lifecrafter's Gift is just okay, but in my deck, more than once I cast Rikshar, and then the next turn cast Lifecrafter's Gift, and I think my best turn with Lifecrafter's Gift was I had 3 things with +1/+1 counters because I moved moved one from the Bandar and had cast Rikshar. So the one thing that I didn't have a counter on, this put one on, and then everything I owned had a counter, and there was just no walking away from that game for my opponent. But it also just cast +2/+2 for 4, and allowed something that would have traded to not trade. So it was fine. The real star of my deck was Rikshar's Expertise. And there's a lot of talk about whether this card is good or not. I wasn't sure when I first saw it, but I can say definitively now that if you have big creatures in your deck, if you can get to 6 mana, this is a good card. Those were the qualifications everyone was asking about, but with 2 Servants of the Conduit, a Wild Wanderer for ramp, and yeah, that's basically it. I was on 7 mana by turn 6 more than one game. I was on 6 mana by turn 6 basically every game I played, and this was usually the last card in my hand by that point. So drawing 4 cards and then playing a free Aether Responder was really good. Drawing 3 cards, playing an Aether Responder was really good. Drawing 2 cards when I needed to, and then playing a free Scrounging Bandar was fine. It wasn't great, but it did stabilize my board, and I ended up winning that game when I thought I was going to lose it. So this card was just fine. 6 mana is a lot for a sorcery, but if you have 3 or more cards that you're going to draw, then you're probably going to be able to play something for free. So, yeah. That was my deck. I went 4-2 overall. I lost the first one because I drew 23 lands over 2 games. So, not much that you can do there. 2 fairly fast games. I won my second fairly easily, won my third fairly easily. In 4th round, played against the Mana Leak. You should check out his channel. And I beat him mostly because he had the problem that I had in round 1. But our decks were fairly evenly matched. My last round was the one that I ended up losing again. and it was just a matter of, again, not quite getting the removal that I needed when I needed it. Thopter Arrest or Fairgrounds Warden probably would have changed that game for me, but unfortunately they were buried a little too deep in my library and I just didn't get there. Still, it was super fun. I won 5 packs of Aether Revolt, which I don't know where I actually put them, but I may be doing something on this channel with those, or I may not. What I'll absolutely be doing tomorrow is posting another one of these videos, because I'm going to the second pre-release, the Sunday pre-release, at my shop, and we'll see what I open. Anyway, thanks very much. If you like this, check out tomorrow's video. The link will be in the description, and I might do some sort of card thing somewhere. We'll find out if I can figure out how to do that. And also, look forward to changes to this channel coming, and hopefully more regular posts. So thanks very much. See you next time.